Hello, it's Jack again, obviously. Um, so in this video, I'd like to talk about uh, atheism, uh, theism, materialism, uh, and some things that go along with that. Uh, so we'll have to draw some distinctions on uh, some deeper aspects of this. Um, so basically, like atheism and materialism in and of itself rejects transcendent reality. Um, it basically defines reality as a bunch of chemical processes. It's basically deterministic in how things go, um, except that it's so random that you have no control, something like that. And not right now, Boots. I'm sorry. But um, basically says we're all animals, we're all working off of instincts, we're all uh, unable to define the mind, basically. And this developed psychology, science, neuroscience, and a lot of things. And the way in which it's interpreted and the axiom which it is defined around. Um, we might get back to that at some point. But this makes it where in your daily life, you're basically either a nihilist or like an absurdist. There's something else. And that's if you totally reject transcendent reality, uh, which that manifests a lot of different worldviews, such as like collectivism, um, as basically the optimal worldview towards producing a reality that is optimized for the hedonistic lifestyle of gratification, pleasure, enjoyment, uh, luxury, and being able to, you know, enjoy your life the most you can based upon your ideals as a subjective person. Because in this type of reality, subjectivity is your only means of operating, so to say. It's kind of like you don't have to understand how other people feel about stuff because it's not really relevant to you. You don't have to understand their feelings because your feelings are unique and nobody else's really matters because nothing really matters. You're just going to die and become a puddle of goo. And it's a very hopeless and empty worldview that the only goodness is really less suffering and more enjoyment, um, because that's all you can really have. And there are some things that they might not realize it because I'm not an atheist. Um, I believe in Christianity, but I'm not lamenting them for it either. I understand, and I used to be that way. I used to operate under that worldview, um, a deterministic, hopeless, nihilistic worldview, pessimistic as well. Which pessimism is another big aspect. It's hard for me to collect my thoughts when I'm talking too, because I usually type it out to people. Uh, so if you're operating under that worldview, you manifest, uh, different things in reality, such as like victimhood, like who's the victim and who's the oppressor, type of thing that, maybe Jordan Peterson would talk about, or some other philosophers. I consider Jordan Peterson a philosopher. You don't have to agree with everything. I don't agree with a lot of what he says as well. Like, I don't agree with the IQ being based upon genetics. Uh, there's a whole argument there, but let's not get into that. Um, so that manifests things like communism, socialism, uh, a worldview where the lower caste in society, so to say, or the lower class or lower in the hierarchy is, the disaffected, and that equal outcome is more important than equal opportunity, because you have to give people who cannot see or grasp something on their own, or isn't able to accomplish it as who they are with their unique situation, their unique depression, their unique intelligence, unique knowledge, unique wisdom, and all that stuff. They can't get the maximum out of reality. And that's a tragedy to these people. Um, and, it is pretty bad, especially if you operate under that worldview, because you couldn't appreciate what you do have enough to where you wouldn't want more and more and more and more and more until you have literally everything that you could possibly have. And that's the optimal. They want the most attention, the most wealth, the most pleasure, the most gratification. Um, and they delve into things that would fulfill be fulfilled under certain circumstances. Like, if you were famous, yeah, that would be nice, but not everybody can be famous. um, there's a lot that goes into it, and it does manifest a lot of things in reality that you see right now. And the fully developed worldview, though, is a lot different than what you would think. There's a lot of people that aren't very understanding of the fully developed worldview that they're going into, uh, like communism, so to say, uh, the collectivist. The collectivist, they more or less, there is a unique character. Maybe you could say it's an archetype, or a wise person for their worldview would come up and have to control the whole of society in such a way. And it doesn't have to be a single person, it can be multiple people, but it is um, an elite amongst that worldview that would have to control things. But, uh, as good as you think people are, and as good as a person thinks they are themselves, it is also under that worldview that morals and, the ends or the means, or what was it? The means justify the ends? Yeah, the means justify the ends. So, under that worldview, you can justify anything. Like, even Hitler justified everything he believed up until he generally went insane. Um, Pol Pot, Mao, North Korea right now, even China right now, they're all justifying a lot of what they're doing based around their worldview. That, like in China, um, they think that the Uyghur Muslims, their lives don't matter. The children that are disaffected by that evil doesn't matter. Um, because in the end, they're trying to shape their society into a master society, basically, and they got to weed out the dissidents, the culture that doesn't align up with what they think everybody should believe, what they think everybody should be like, and if you deviate too far, you're going to end up in a concentration camp. So there's no room for an individual to separate from that, no matter how evil, no matter how this or that. It's what matters to them is the end goal. And you have to do a lot of evil stuff to really get there. And in collectivism, it is that individual that stands out from the crowd that has to do those things to progress things in their worldview. So it gets very evil. You end up with a lot of genocide. You end up with a lot of very evil things. And we've seen it throughout history. Hundreds of millions of people, just like us, just like you. Doesn't matter who you are. There's been types of people, just like you, just like me, that have been murdered or, killed because of their beliefs. Uh, and we're going down the same route right now. The same exact things happening. It might look a little different, but it's the same thing. So, within theism, or we'll say transcendent reality, um, this is abstract reality. Uh, it is not related to materialism. It's not related to science. It's not related to anything that you can describe. So, like science, we'll stop there and go with an example. With like science, we can see the brain do certain things that indicate that a person is feeling love. When they think of somebody they love, we can see that. We can see that that is what is happening. And what they define love as is a give and take, a reward system. And it doesn't actually define love, because love itself is good and bad. It is beyond a feeling. It is beyond any of that. Like, if you love your child, you would discipline them for their betterment. Or if you love somebody, or if you just love people in general, you would be willing to do a lot of things for their betterment, such as, punishing criminals or this or that, for either the criminal's best interest or, even up to the point of killing people for the betterment of people or the betterment of your family or the betterment of something or another. You might even hate and love. You might feel a lot of different things, and it's all related to love, because love is not really held into a box. It's not logical. It's not rational. You can't make sense of it, because there's a lot of things that still apply with love, even if it doesn't seem like it. And people get confused about this. Like, when your parents are mean, they're just shitty, and they do things wrong, but they're trying in their own way. They still love you. Maybe not. This isn't applying to everybody. Um, they usually still love you, and uh, you gotta look for it sometimes to really know it. Uh, Now, there is parents that will try and control you for their own interest. That is selfishness. It is. And it shouldn't be about that. It should be about the child's best interests, their personal development, personal growth, different things like that. And you can't say, like, how the government is with people. Well, say the government's your parent. You can't just give your child everything they want and gratify them and give them the best life possible, where the negativity is depleted, because there is certain things that uh, people in ignorance don't fully grasp, uh, because not every person's perfect, and maybe your child's going to hate you because you did something wrong. Maybe you didn't balance out the good and the bad for what they needed, and they became messed up over it. Maybe you gave them too much good, and they didn't appreciate it, and you didn't teach them how to appreciate it properly. So they became snobby. They ended up suffering in life because of that, because it doesn't actually operate in the world. It's a dysfunction to be snobby, and that would disaffect them with other people who aren't snobby, and they would come to hate themselves and hate people even, maybe, and nobody would tell them how to fix themselves, because it's a personal thing that they got to figure out on their own. And this could lead into even suicide, where you're trying to help your kid enjoy life and you ended up killing them, because any parent should own up to that. You did them wrong, you didn't do it right, and as an adult, they couldn't figure it out, and they suffered, and they hated, and they gave up, and they killed themselves. So there's a lot of very deep aspects to this stuff, where control, selfishness, selflessness, and freedom, and everything balances out with love, because it is a shifting dynamic according to the infinite situations that you'll be presented in life. And if you don't love somebody, you'll just try and control them. You'll try and benefit yourself, maybe benefit them too, or get them to be more like you. And that wouldn't be good. Now, I'm no expert, I'm definitely not an expert. I'm I'm just trying to learn life. Uh, but this makes love a transcendent property. Um, you can't objectively prove that it exists scientifically, but you can say that it is objectively good. It is objectively natural for humans to do this, because it is proven throughout all of history, whether you believe in evolution or creation, that love is a natural property that humans lean into. Even animals raise their young within restraint. They want the pack to do well and all that. Maybe a young pup will want to be alpha, be awesome and all that. But whenever he becomes alpha, um, he eventually has to learn to care and nurture the pack to do well. He has to learn to love his pack more than himself, up to the point of maybe leading the pack into the dangerous situation that, as the leader, as the selfish pup, shouldn't want to endanger himself, but he will still do that. Now, maybe it's different with wolves. I think maybe there's a sub alpha or something that leads, and the alpha stays behind to defend the weak, and that's out of love, because the weak honestly don't matter when you're living under a non-transcendent worldview where love doesn't exist or compassion and stuff like that. You would get rid of the weak, but that's not how animals act. So I would say this is a property that is evident in all of reality, even. So, um, when you don't understand love, because you can't understand it from a scientific, deterministic point of view, it's something that you have to think about. You have to contemplate. You have to feel a lot of different things to realize what it is. Um, and this transcendent worldview, it doesn't matter what you believe. Uh, you know, humans have always fell into that, and it's one of the inconsistencies of reality that uh, develop religion. It's a self-evident property of reality that can't be explained, because it isn't just a give or take. It's beyond that, and it actually, to me, doesn't make sense in an evolutionary model. Uh, and that's probably one of the reasons I came to Christianity. And you can laugh at it, but uh, to me, it's not a bad thing to understand, at least, even if you don't agree. But that's what got me here, anyways. uh, so back into that abstract anything people believe. So if you could understand love, then you'd understand, how people act with or without love, with transcendent perception and without. Because if you love someone, you would be better for even other people, because you would see that love that you have for that person and who they are as, there's other people out there that need love too. And you can expand that to the whole human race. Now, some people, you know, they love all humans at the expense of a single human, where you would kill one person to save many, or you'd kill a bunch of people to save the future. And, uh, that's bad. It's evil, because unless that person you're killing is evil, then there's no justification for it, is there? So that would make you evil to do that. And that's not loving. You're not doing it because you love other people. You're doing it because you want the best for other people, but you're willing to murder somebody. So that's not good. So, there's some things that it's not right. but you can still rationalize it. And that's where rationality comes in, is to make sense of things like that. It would be better that all these people live than uh, all of them die and one person lives. Uh, that is a justification of the evil that you have to do. But uh, if that person loved, they would willingly sacrifice themselves for all those people. So that kind of comes back, you know. What if you talk to the person and you're like, "Oh, the whole world's gonna die"? Wouldn't you sacrifice yourself? I think I would. So, that kind of helps reconcile certain things so you don't have to be the bad person. So where we got from was atheism into transcendent reality, a little bit of Christianity. There's a lot of different aspects of transcendent reality that go even deeper and deeper and deeper, with like duality of like good and bad, or like function, dysfunction, growth or devolution. Um, Destruction or order, and this is a inherent property of reality as well, and it is irrefutable that some things lead to dysfunction and some things lead to function. Now, love leads to function because it is basically a definition of function. It is the growth of goodness and building things up, and maintenance and maintaining and order. And then the lack of love, uh, let's say where you see it as just a feeling or a chemical process and you don't ever sit there and make sense of it, um, it is dysfunctional. It leads to dysfunction because it's not compatible with reality. It's not compatible with the human mind to not do that. And I say that because you lose hope. You lose comfort with people because you don't understand them. You don't understand if they don't understand love, or if they do understand love, you wouldn't understand that. So you don't know if you can trust them. You don't know if they have your best interest at heart, whether they care about you. You don't know if this or that. You don't know if they're trying to control you or if they're trying to develop you in a good way, you know? And there's a lot of things in reality that are similar to that. And, even, uh, let's say a vegetarian, they love animals. They don't want to eat them. I understand how they feel. I actually love animals too. I see them as little people. And I grew up uh, kind of incompassionate towards animals. I never saw that until, well into adulthood. And I've been a farmer. I've been a hunter. I've uh, I've killed animals with my own hands. Uh, I've had to put animals down. I've sold animals into stuff that's not good. Uh, I've um, farming's pretty rough if you see animals as that way, because there's a lot of bad stuff too, like how pigs are raised, and you know basically pens and just fed food, and that's all they have other than bumping into each other all day, fighting and stuff like that, squelling. And, that's not good. Uh, I actually think, free range hog meat would be better, where they're in natural habitat. But let's say even, a cow. He gets to live on pasture for, a couple years. And that's it. A couple years. The lucky ones are the dairy cows because they might get to live to like 7 to 10 years old. And that's about it. Uh, it's rough. But you can't force that moral on other people. They have to come to the realization themselves. Maybe you can help, but you can't be upset at them for whatever. Because, I still go out and hunt. I actually plan to get me a deer here soon. And I respect what I'm doing very much. Uh, because I am taking a life to support my own. And, maybe it's out of many different reasons. The meat is practically free, and the the work involved is very fulfilling, even if it's disgusting, even if it's putting an animal down. That's not pleasant. I don't enjoy it. I'm not proud of that, but I am respectful of what I'm doing, and I respect the animal for, you know, for what it is, and it's food to me. And in my religion, I am ordered to eat it because in my religion, um, it was Adam and Eve. They screwed up, and as a punishment, instead of them just devolving, becoming fucked up creatures, and they would have done it anyways, probably. Not maybe not Adam and Eve, but eventually humans would have done this. They would have eaten animals and they would have liked it. And it was an easy way to avoid having to grow food and, avoid work and all this. So to me, it is a punishment to have to eat animals. And you're supposed to hurt. You're supposed to feel that. You're supposed to suffer that you are living off of other animals that have feelings, have lives, have love in themselves, because these animals do have love. They're just like humans. You go out there and look at them. You try and raise an animal like a human, and it's going to be your little buddy, your little friend. It's going to love you. You act sad, it's going to try and make you happy. My dog does. Uh, so to me, it's a punishment, and I respect that. That animal gave its life up basically to me because I have to suffer that, and it's not fair for the animal. Um, I had to take its life to subsist reasonably well rather than struggle. Now, it is only in modern times that you have the capability to subsist off of just gathering food, um, fruits and vegetables and stuff. Like, you take out the hunter from hunter-gatherer, you're just a gatherer. Back in the day, a lot of people were nomadic because you couldn't subsist off a single area for very long at all, off of just that. And then people learned how to grow food, but unless you've grown your own food in a vegetarian aspect and went 100% subsistent off of the landscape, which is very, 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 very hard even to do, even if you're eating meat. Um, I don't think you have any moral supremacy. There's no virtue in it, really. Um, there's some virtue. There's some virtue in respecting an animal as uh, a sentient being with emotions and feelings and not wanting to harm them. Uh, I respect that because I see a lot of the stuff in farming that I don't consider fair or good. And, I've tried to be a farmer, and deep down I hate it. I hate it a lot. I really dislike it. But I've tried and tried to be successful. And, coming to grips with that and accepting it as reality is more important than any idealism and all of that stuff because nothing is perfect. And whether you believe in one aspect or another of religion or atheism, coming to a common agreement and objectively seeing reality for what it really is, that would be ideal for everybody. Uh, because you can't see somebody as eating an animal as evil. They're not really evil. They might not be the best person that they could possibly be, but nobody is. Whether you're a vegetarian or not, it wouldn't matter. And that's another aspect of transcendent reality, um, or the lack thereof. Because uh, if you believed in atheism, it really wouldn't matter. You wouldn't even have to see them as as they matter, because the only thing that matters is yourself. Uh, Maybe furthering your genetics and all that, and fulfilling your instincts, um, which a lot of those instincts aren't very well explained. I would say, like, yeah, you want to um, spread your genetics. That is um, a inherent property of animals. But it goes further than that, because if you were transcendent minded, you would see that you were trying to raise a very cognizant being, um, a cognizant consciousness that transcends themselves and transcends all the things that you had to. Um, and that they would be capable of understanding the maturity in your own growth that would help them develop a stronger love that is without more and more without flaws, you know, so that they aren't falling prey into empty things, and I think that's where the distinctions should be drawn, where people should try and understand more and more, because there's always two sides to every story. And some sides you can go with it, but there is a more fulfilling side, I would say. And you don't have to agree. Uh, but, you know, it just says what it is. I'd at least like understanding. Uh, Understanding before a disagreement. or before being called wrong or right, you know, because I try and understand other people before I call them wrong or right, and I try and explain to them, or at least come to a common understanding of the difference of opinion, the agree to disagree, so to say. Because I don't care if somebody else is wrong, in my view. You know, I understand what they think and why they think it. Uh, and there, there is a middle ground. And I think that's what's important, especially nowadays.